the video. I'm Melissa, I write books. Today we're doing the dictation video. So if you are coming across this video just randomly, I am in the middle of November right now and I'm drafting a book. I'm about 45,000 words into it, and I use dictation to draft the first draft of my novels. So this is my second time doing this. It's kind of a weird thing to do. It doesn't feel very natural. I mean, for me it feels natural, but I think for most writers, stepping into like a public speaking it sort of feels like public speaking to voice a novel. So it might feel a little weird. So I'm just gonna kind of give you my best tips and tricks for dictation. We're gonna talk about just like on a basic level, what is dictation? That'll be for like 2 seconds, don't worry. And then we'll talk about like what softwares and like tools I use to do it. And then also like some more tips on like how to actually go about writing a scene just by talking, by speaking, and then some like pros and cons. So the first thing is, what is it? What is this that we're talking about? So instead of typing on one of these bad boys, you're speaking voice to text the entire draft using some sort of dictation software, whether that be on a phone or a computer. It's just like on the logistical side of things. I'm making this video now because I literally just this last weekend have figured out the software that will work best for me for dictation. For me, it's this like browser plugin called Voice Typer. With this, it's always running on your computer, unless you can close out of it, but it's always there and it works in whatever application is open. And you just press like whatever key. For me, it's the like Enye, if you know what key that is. I press that and it starts dictating. And what I like about this software is you can continue to type as you're speaking. And you can also give it keywords, so you can implement words for it to prioritize. So you could spell all of your characters' names correctly in the software, and then it will like prioritize using that word if the word that's spoken sounds like that, if that makes sense. I believe that people have told me, I have not tried this out, but I think in Google Docs, there's a similar, like the Google Docs dictation software does a similar thing. But I like this Voice Typer because you can use it in Scrivener, you can use it in Word, like whatever application is open, you can use it. I believe it is like $15 a month. I haven't had to pay anything yet. I think I have a free trial, so we'll just see, I'll let you know. But if you're looking for a free version of that, Google Docs. If you don't want to write in Google Docs, most computers have like a built-in dictation software just for like accessibility purposes. That'll be on like the settings of your computer or your phone. But those I found with the Windows one specifically don't pick up on certain things. Like if you say quotation mark, it won't make a quotation mark or comma. And the punctuation is like really all over the place. And for Windows, you can't type while it's running. Like if you press any key on the keyboard, the dictation stops, which can kind of hinder flow. That was how I had dictated my entire first novel. And what had happened was it was really difficult to edit through, as you've seen on this channel, because the periods were all over the place, commas were in the wrong spots, because it tries to punctuate, but it doesn't do a very good job. And it's all like a literal block of dictation. Like there's no formatting, a lot of the spelling is wrong. Most of the time your character names are like, for example, my main character's name is Greer, and it would autocorrect to career or rear. And I'm like, girl, listen, you could use just your like computer or phone's natural dictation and see how it works, but I've recently found this and it's really helpful. And in the software, like it's kind of a learning curve because you have to say comma, period, quotation mark, unless you want to add that in later. Some people are like typing as they're dictating, so they do the punctuation and the grammar on the keyboard. I prefer to just like be looking somewhere else, not at the screen, not typing. And so let's say I'm like, for example, I look around the room, comma, noticing each thing as it passes by, period. Return, quotation mark. Hey, comma, quotation mark, I say, quotation mark. Like that's how it would look, right? And so it's a little bit of a learning curve, but honestly, after 2 sessions of doing that, I'm sold. Yeah, and that's what I found to work best. Lots of people on this who watch this channel have used dictation as well, and like feel free to provide what works best for you too, because it might work differently on a Mac, or like Mac's dictation might just be better. So I don't know. There's lots of different softwares, but some of them are a little bit more expensive, and a lot of them are built for like meetings, not fiction. So the Voice Typer is the first one that popped up. and it works really well. So now to talk about like, how do you actually like write a scene, Alyssa? Like, how do you actually like write a scene with your mouth? Like, how do you start? Like, where do you go? My mom was saying, like, she watches my channel, hey mom, and she was like, it's crazy to me that you can just like start speaking a scene out of nowhere, like out of nothing. And it is a little crazy, and it is a learning curve. So if you're trying it out and it's not working super well, maybe give it a couple shots, because for some writers like me, it just like comes really naturally and like feels like the way I was supposed to write. But a few things that help me actually start writing the scene is, before I start dictating, I typically write 2 or 3 bullet points of like, this is exactly what's gonna happen next. So for example, a scene I was just writing yesterday, before I started dictating, I two bullet points, and the first one was, she's at a dinner party with her boyfriend, and the second one was, later she goes to therapy. And sometimes I'll add in something like, he says something mysterious, or she feels weird about it. Like anything to like put me in a place and an action. Like, where is she going? How does she feel about it? Where's she going? What is she doing? Whatever you need to get started, because that helps me like center myself in the scene. I think dictation works really well for people who like visualize the scene around them, and like while you're writing maybe are picturing things happen. But I think it can also work for other people, because I don't necessarily like see images when I'm writing, but I very much like get emotionally where the character is. And so that has really helped convey the truth of the story better for me, because I'm like where the character is. I also do write in first person, and I think that dictation works really well for people who write in first person. I haven't tried writing third person in it, but it's very natural to just like, I walk into the room, comma, looking around at the sights in front of me, period. In the corner, I notice a strange man with a goatee, you know, like, in just like going from there. And if you're getting stuck in a scene, I'll often like, as the character dictating, look around and be like, what am I seeing? What am I smelling? What am I hearing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? You know, like going into those senses and describing physicality of like, how am I sitting? Where am I? What does it look like? How does that represent how I feel? But sometimes the pitfall is that I will just describe so much that it's been 500 words and I haven't said a single word, you know, so adding in dialogue too. Sometimes I'll like throw in a little character voice, you know, just like naturally. But yeah, that's kind of how I insert myself into the scene. I do have a video on my channel, I will link it, it's like a real-time dictation session. So it's 10 minutes uninterrupted, like unedited, of me dictating, and then 10 minutes of me editing the dictation. So that was before I had this software that edited it, but it's still a good example of like, what does it look like? Like, what does it actually sound like to dictate a scene? But yeah, that's kind of how you center yourself in it. I say just like go for it. And it also might be really good for people who listen to a lot of audiobooks. I remember around the time I started dictating was when I listened to a lot of audiobooks, and it's like you're just reading yourself an audiobook, but it's coming out of your own noggin. I don't know. That kind of helps me when I try dictation. Some pros and cons. So pros is it is faster. So my average is, for 10 minutes of dictation, I can get about 1,000 words. For 20 minutes, it's about 1,700 words, just because it just takes a little bit to get into the scene usually. But I mean, last week I wrote, was it last week? Maybe 2 weeks ago, I wrote 20,000 words in one day, and it was not even hard. I mean, it was, but what was hard wasn't getting the words on the page. It was like getting through that amount of plot, you know? So that's a big pro. If you're trying to get a bunch of words on the page, cash money. Another pro is it really helps get more interiority for the character, because I think you can notice a little bit more what's missing from the scene when you're speaking it out loud. Because if you're like jumping right to dialogue, but you haven't talked about like, where am I sitting? What is going on? How am I feeling about this? You know, it makes you a little bit more aware of where the character is emotionally, especially if you're a dictator like me, maybe not. Especially if you use dictation like me, where you're like very emotionally in the scene as the character. I'll be up in my office being like, listen to me, listen. Do you not even love me anymore? You know. So that's a pro. It really helps you get in the moment. I feel like there are more pros because I really love to dictate. It is a good time. But some cons are the editing and formatting of it all. Even with the dictation software, you still do have to go back and edit through things. But I don't think that's necessarily a con, it's just something to know. Another con is if you don't live by yourself, it is weird. Like, people will look at you weirdly. And if you live with someone, they might think you're insane. So that's a con. Also, your throat. Oh my gosh, you guys, my throat is like so sore. And I'm not sick, it's just like so much talking. It might have something to do also with the fact that I'm live streaming quite frequently and also daily vlogging right now. So like that might have something to do with it. But like, you guys, my throat is so sore all the time. Sometimes the phrasing might come out weird. Like just what your voice tends to naturally focus on might not be the things that you want to focus on in the story. Because when I'm talking, I'm focusing a lot more on like dialogue and interior. There's things that I don't prioritize when I'm speaking, and that'll be different for everybody just based on how you naturally talk. So I would say just try it out and see if it works for you, because it really does help you get those words on the page, let me tell you. But also, I just want to like demystify this for a little bit, because I'm in a lot of live streams right now and putting in like, I just got 2,000 words in 20 minutes and everyone's like, but it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Like the editing through of it and the revising of the dictation, like sometimes scenes are super bloated because you just focused on the wrong thing just to get words on the page. And like, I think we do that when we type too, but with dictation, it's like, instead of wasting 200 words on a random flower thing that nobody needed, sometimes you need flowers, sometimes you don't. You waste 5,000 words on it, you know? I don't know if this is a con, but when you move through the story so quickly, sometimes it like the story gets away from you. I've written almost 50,000 words in 15 days. And I'm like, that's a lot of plot to get through. And sometimes your brain needs a little bit more time to like catch up to where the book actually is going. And so that's just something to keep in mind too. Like, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. This is by far my preferred way to dictate, but I also was a speech and theater kid and I talk a million miles an hour, and I literally have a YouTube channel where I talk to a camera. So I don't think it's gonna be the solution for most people. And it's definitely not final draft words that I'm spitting out, but it has definitely really changed the game for me. Those are my tips on dictation. Let me know what I missed, because I'm sure I missed something, but give it a shot because it might just work out and maybe you'll write 50,000 words in one day. Don't tempt me, okay? Don't tempt me. I will see you so soon. Drop me a lightning emoji because you're gonna be fast as lightning when you dictate. Anyway, okay, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.